Mo consei pus kibal upon relevance monteno e tutabo de commencer lire parcours d'apprentissage. Une fois que vous avez commencé, essayez étudier un peu chaque jour. Because me spending 2 hours roughly every day, so I don't think it's difficult for them to take out like 2 hours of their time. And honestly, it's just about starting to understand the language a bit. Say what kept me motivated was the Frenchify community. That is my target right now. I want to give the exam. I've started my exam prep to have that mindset again, that this is where I stand and this is what I need to target.
So hello everyone, welcome to today's video. So today with me I have Parmeet. Good evening Parmeet, how are you?
Good evening, Bill. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am doing good as well. Thank you so much. Parmeet is someone who started learning French while working full time, and she's still working full time, in her 9 to 5 job in a bank. Being someone who started learning French while being on work permit, studying, working full time with full time work, trying to manage French study. I really wanted to bring you today on this platform to be able to share your experience with others on how your French learning journey was. कि कैसा आपको कैसे क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम्स आई, क्या क्या डिफिकल्टीज आई और कैसे हमने उसको सॉल्व किया एंड हाउ फ्रेंचिफाई प्रोग्राम्स आल्सो हेल्प यू विद द फ्रेंच लर्निंग. उससे भी ज़्यादा ज़रूरी वी वांट टू एक्सप्रेस आवर एक्सपीरियंस ऑन कि कैसी फ्रेंच लर्निंग जर्नी होती है. ओके, सो दैट वी आर एबल टू पुट अ रियल पिक्चर इन फ्रंट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स, इन फ्रंट ऑफ फ्रेंच एस्पिरेंट्स जो TEF TCF कैनेडा का एग्जाम देना चाहते हैं. सो प्लीज इंट्रोड्यूस योरसेल्फ एंड देन वी विल कंटिन्यू दिस डिस्कशन फॉरवर्ड.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the brief introduction, Vyom. So, my name is Parmeet, and I started with the Frenchify program last year, and I'm working full time in a bank. And it was really difficult for me to, get started on this journey with 9 to 5 because I was like, okay, I need my me time as well, and I want to learn a new language as well. But despite of the challenges, I was like, nope, this is something I want to do. So I started my journey.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's great actually. And one thing I really find commendable about you is despite of 9 to 5 work and all the travel time and giving your time investment into your work, you have still been able to consistently study for about 2 hours on regular basis. Even though it's not like very intensive, but it's good enough to be able to learn French at a good pace. And it's been 10 months that you have started with the Frenchify programs, and currently you have done A1, A2, and B1. Now you have started your exam specific preparation recently. So today I'm going to ask questions according to the student's perspective so that you are able to share your experience and your learning lessons with them. Okay, so firstly, okay, so I really want to ask this question. It's out of my curiosity. What was your motivation behind learning French in the first place? Because not everyone is everyone knows about French, but not everyone starts learning French. Even though they start, not everyone goes up to A2, B1 level and go up until the exam specific preparation. So what motivated you, and what kept you going?
So initially, when I started my journey, I had two options: either changing the province or learning a new language. So I was like, okay, maybe we will go with the language and, we'll get started on that. It's still better than, moving to a different city. So that was the initial motivation. Let's get started. And I would say what kept me motivated was the Frenchify community. Once I joined the community, I got to meet the people with same mindset, seeing each other grow and seeing that, weekly progress. And we were like, oh yeah, I'm seeing the improvement. So I think that is what kept me motivating. Another thing that, I liked about the program was the videos. They just kept me involved, like those little targets. I was like, oh yeah, you know what, maybe I should get this completed by, let's say, Monday or Tuesday. So that kept me going. And so those little steps, were my motivation. And, the community overall, I think that was my motivation.
Sure. And I think it's very important, when we are learning a language, because language is something which cannot be just, learned between one person. We always need a community with whom we can share our progress updates and overall, updates about learning the language and just practice as well. So that is why it's crucial to have a community, not only to converse with others, but also to challenge yourself to push even harder. So Parmeet, your first motivation was to learn this language for your permanent residency and better career in Canada, I believe, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, and now having came to the end of B1 and starting your exam specific preparation and B2 level, now are you still doing it as an obligation, or have you started enjoying the language? What's the status now?
I think that's a very good question. So I think I've started to love the language. I am seeing the difference in me. Even when I'm watching something, I start thinking like, okay, how would you say this in French? So I think I have now built that connection with the language. So I wouldn't just take it as an obligation now. But PR is still the motivation. I would say that is somewhere where I'm like, no, this is for PR as well. Career opportunities for sure, yes. But I feel like now I'm not forcing myself to study. It's just built in me that I want to learn French. I want to keep learning French, and it's just in me now that this is part of the life.
Yeah.
I feel.
And actually, first two levels like A1, A2, or the basic levels, those are the most difficult levels to crack in terms of the discipline that we need, or in terms of how consistent we can be. It's more like if you are able to get done with A1, A2, then 90% chance you will be able to get done with the overall levels as well, right? But so for you, how did that happen? Like how did you push yourself through A1, A2 levels in the first place?
I would say honestly, I spend the most of my time doing A1 and A2 as well. Um, Once I was done with A1, I think A1 was where, I had to force myself and I had to motivate myself. I would say motivate. I had to motivate myself that, Pramit, you have to spend some time. You need to understand the grammar. You need to understand how those sentences are made. So I think that is what took most of my time. But at that time, I just set a rhythm that I have to sit down, I have to study it for a bit because at that time I was building the connection with the language. As soon as A1 was done, I felt like, I have a habit in me now that I have to study regularly. So A2 was a bit easier, even though it was like, you learn more concepts there, but, you are eager to learn more because now that you know that at least I completed A1. So that is how I was able to finish my A2 because now you have more understanding of the language, the things you observed in A1, you're like, oh, now this makes sense. Now I know why this was like that. Yeah. So, that is how you are like, you're constantly learning. So I would say, yes, A1, A2, definitely big milestones, but A1 is where you teach yourself, oh, yeah, you need to keep going. And once that is done, it's all good.
Yeah, no, that's correct. That's true. A1 is like, the biggest hurdle. Once you clear that, then the momentum builds up, right? So I think you've got that perspective right on. Talking about A1 level specifically, how was the structurization of program for you? Like, what were the things that you were like, oh, this is exactly what I was what I was looking for. Was there something like that in A1, A2? How did that go with Frenchify?
I think the whole program was very helpful for me, starting from the alphabets, how you pronounce them. And I feel like, doing the pronunciation right in the beginning also helped me build perspective. Because, even when you go for listening or even when you go for, just watching a series or something, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm picking up this and that. So I think the program was built in a way that you were educated with the right parts first, and then, it just kept on elevating. So I think that is what helped me a lot. There were so many wow points for me, I would say, in the program. Like I was able to sort of relate to it. I knew that why is it being taught, and I knew that, okay, this is how we are gonna target this grammar portion or that grammar portion. So I knew how program was headed. So that just sort of, gives you a perspective where you're headed towards. So I would say that is how A1 was for me. And yes, definitely required me to be consistent. So I would say definitely I was a consistent student. I did not, miss on the concepts. And I was regularly in touch with Vyom. I was regularly in touch with my fellow students just to see, how they are progressing as well. So I would say that was my recipe of doing A1.
Good. No, that's good. That's good, and that's important as well. I think in order to properly succeed in A1. So let talk to me about resistance or the times when you had to push yourself to study, because see, it's not always rainbows and sunshine. When learning French, I would just say it's only 20% of the time which is rainbows and sunshine when you're actually enjoying. Rest 80% of the time you kind of have to push yourself to study more. How did you go through that phase? How did you push yourself to study through A1, A2, and like overall in your French journey, how did you push yourself? What was your thought process?
So my thought process to keep pushing myself was I got myself into something, and this is what I want to do. So I got to be consistent. This was my mindset. Okay, and I was like, I was going through these little milestones. When I set those little milestones, I knew that okay, this is my target for now. So I'll just keep going, and my progress will speak to it itself. So and those not missing those daily targets. So even if you miss a day, then you just are left behind. So I tried to study just a bit, but I would not miss a day. So that was my motivation. If I do something and you keep going, and then one day if you miss it, you feel that, something is missing from your life. So that is what I did for myself, not missing a day, even studying for a bit of time, even on the days when, I felt like, no, maybe I should go out with my friends and all that. There was a time, that when I went to the beach and I was like, no, maybe I'll just take my French book with me. So, those times, like even when you know that I don't want to study, I will just study a bit. And then you just develop that habit in you that I gotta keep going. So that was my motivation when I started A1. And that is what kept me going personally.
So, Parmeet, being someone who is working 9 to 5, like, what was your working hours, or what are your working hours right now? Like, averagely, how does that go?
So for me, definitely working hours are 9 to 5, but not limited to 9 to 5. Sometimes you could extend as well. So, and then the travel time as well. Roughly, I would say 8 to 10 hours is my work
Okay,
timing.
8 to 10 hours per day. So given that, given that much amount of hours that you have to give to work, with that,
Yeah.
how did you manage French, or what schedule did you set up for yourself to be able to still give 2 hours on daily basis?
I had like different timelines for weekdays and weekends. Because, I have a full time job, so I want to perform well there as well and not miss out on that.
Yeah.
So I used to spend more time studying in the evenings or at night before sleeping. And I wouldn't say that it was always 2 hours, it's roughly 2 hours. But, if I want to extend some time, and, if I'm interested in learning something, I would extend my time as well. So, but mainly before bed, because that way, when I get up in the morning, I'm like, again, oh yeah, I did this yesterday, I need to do this again.
Yeah.
So that was just before bed. And on the weekends, I try to spend more time, because if on the days I'm not studying much, I try to cover it on the weekend. So on the weekends, I would just stretch my studies a bit. I could get started early in the morning as well, because in the mornings I felt like if I'm starting my weekend like that, it will be helpful. So weekends were mainly like, studying in the morning, and weekdays were like at night.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. No, that's a good. I really wanted to ask this question because there are going to be a lot of audience who is watching this, who are watching this, and who are currently working 9 to 5, 8 to 4, or 9 to 6, whatever the time frame that we have, and it's very important for them to get a perspective on that you can still give time despite of your full time work. So I think that is very important to clear out, that it's not just like if you're working, oh, it's impossible to learn French. You just have to give enough time to be able to do it. And I also have, just linking to this answer that you gave, I also have one question for you. That let's say if someone is currently on work permit, someone is working. Let's say someone is working 40 plus 20 hours, like someone is working 60 hours. Okay, is it possible for them to learn French that way?
I think, of course, yes, because me spending 2 hours roughly every day. So I don't think it's difficult for them to take out like 2 hours of their time. And, like I said, if you're missing out on your studies on weekdays, maybe just covering it on weekends. I think that would definitely help. And honestly, it's just about starting to understand the language a bit. Once you start understanding the language a bit, you are just motivated to keep learning more. So I think it's just building that initial connection with the language, and then it's all good. Like even with the times, I think one person can definitely spare 2 hours for
Correct.
sure.
No, that's true. That's true. What I would say is, yeah, when we are on work permit, we usually get into this rut of, working as much as possible. And with work, we also want to do French, we also want to do gym, we also want to do XYZ, all the other activities as well. That is the point where, you really have to think about your priorities. Like, what are your real priorities? Is your priority just to work part time work so that you're able to just earn $500 $600 extra every month, or you can sacrifice that money for now and include French in your daily routine? Just as you said, just 2 hours is fine. Including that as well, so that you're able to, after 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, you are able to go on to that level where you are like, okay, now there is no going back, and I have to get done with the exam. So
I would love to add on to that, Vyom, because I was just like that. I was like, oh no, I want to go to gym. I want to go out as well. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I did do all of those activities as well, but it's just like cutting them a bit. If I was going to the gym for like 1.5 hours or so, I would just cut it to like 1 hour and then to 40 45 minutes. So still doing those activities, but not doing them a lot, just reducing time and setting those priorities again. That if French is there, I need to learn French.
Awesome. I think that's all. Overall, I want to take an overall review from you as well, and your perspective on overall journey. Because see, for me, I'm someone who learned French in 12 months, and I've been sharing the same step-by-step pathway on how I did it. Okay. So, what is your perspective on it? That how did the structurization went for you? And yeah, what's your overall review about the structure of the French learning?
To be very honest, personally, for me, it has been very helpful. Like starting from A1, I knew this is my expectation, and this is what I should work on. And then when A2 started, okay, it's just one step up from A1. This is what I want to do. And then when B1 came, I knew that this is going to be the expectation. So all of this really helped me because once you have that understanding in your brain that this is what I'm going towards, then you do know how you want to prioritize your things, how you want to spend time on this stuff. So I think the program was structured in a way that I had the ability to study it when I had time. So it's not like, I need to study this only in the morning or I only need to study this at night. No, the program is flexible. So, I found it easier for me that, whenever I have time available, I can work on that. And I also did love the part where, you get those additional resources. If you want to learn, if you want to do more reading, you can do more reading. If you're looking for some listening resources, because, when you're traveling somewhere and you cannot really go through the course study, you're like, oh no, you know what? I'm traveling. Maybe let me do listening. So course is built in a way that you always have something. So you cannot really get rid of the language. You do have something always. So that is what really helped me personally. So I think structure wise, it's amazing. And then, another thing that I'd already mentioned is the community as well. The community is awesome. You will see that you have likewise mindset people, and you're able to share your experience. Just stay connected, and that way you will stay motivated, because when you're with those people who are doing or who are on the same journey, I think that just keeps motivating you. So that is what helped me personally. The program was perfect for me. I felt motivated all along the way.
Awesome. Sounds good. And see, that was one of the biggest considerations that I kept in mind when I was building this structure and programs for a student as well. That, not everyone has a privilege to be available anytime. Like everyone is working. Okay, everyone is working. They want to learn French at their convenience. That is why when we try to run sort of like live batches and live classes, the problem with those is that it's not possible to attend those because everyone has a different work schedule. Not everyone can join the same class at XYZ timing. That's why that is something now that is something which is old school. The better method, the better method is a hybrid method through which you are able to complete the syllabus according to your own time flexibility. With that, we have the live session so that you get a full support and doubt discussions and everything happens on the go, both of them together.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. And it's not that you only have to study for 2 hours. If you have time, you want to study more, the program is built in a way that you can even cover something in less time.
Correct.
So I think, it just depends on how much time you have, how much time you want to spend, and you can even cover it in less time.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much for sharing all of these, sharing your insights and your experience about the language. And what's the future, future plan for you now, Parmeet? When do you plan to give your exam? I know like we have had this discussion that you're planning to now give your first attempt as soon as possible so that you're able to get CLB 5 in listening and speaking for that Francophone mobility program.
That is my target right now. I want to give the exam. I want to know where I stand now that, I've started my exam prep, to have that mindset again, that this is where I stand and this is what I need to target. Francophone mobility, yes. CLB 5, yes, but hoping to get more. So let's see how that goes. Planning to give it in just about a month. Or less than a month, depending on my progress, which obviously Vyom will tell me. So looking forward to that right now.
Parfait, Parmeet. Je vais te poser une question en français, ok? Quelle est ta recommandation pour quelqu'un qui apprend le français maintenant? Qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire?
Mon conseil pour ceux qui veulent apprendre le français maintenant est tout d'abord de commencer leur parcours d'apprentissage. Une fois que vous avez commencé, essayez d'étudier un peu chaque jour et de développer votre habitude. Puis augmenter le temps d'étude quotidiennement et faites confiance à vous-même et en processus. Sounds good. And yes, all the best for your French learning journey, Parmeet. And I will see everyone in our next video. I hope you guys enjoyed and got some valuable information out of Parmeet's journey of learning the language. Parmeet, thank you so much for being here because your the advice and the experience that you shared is very valuable for someone else who is learning the language. So thank you so much. Yeah, no problem. And thank you so much, Vyom, for creating the community. So it's awesome. Thank you.